Every age has its heroes, characters that become part of the cultural zeitgeist and a permanent fixture under the spotlight. However, as their era ended, so did their popularity. They remained as a piece of history but never soared to the heights they once did. But once in a while, there are creations that transcend their era and remain beloved throughout generations. Batman, Mr. Spock, Luke Skywalker, Riley Reid, and many others who are still remembered fondly by those who enjoyed their adventures growing up. One of the most quintessential examples of this trope is none other than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michael Landon. Born as an ultra-violent comic book parody of Daredevil, this reptilian quartet took the world by storm in the late 80s and early 90s. And kids, when I say took the world by storm, I mean it. If you weren't born back then, you probably still have working knees, but more importantly, you weren't present to see Turtlemania sweep the planet clean. Everywhere we looked, there were cartoons, comic books, toys, stickers, t-shirts, terrible foods in terrible colors with the face of our heroes printed on them, and the focus of today's video, the video games. Ah, yes, it was truly a time to be alive, the heyday of 8-bit consoles and the beginning of the console war, Nintendo versus Sega, a battle for the ages that would become the personal Vietnam of future unemployed, balding 40-year-old men with nothing to live for except the need to consume. Now, I may or may not have told this story before, but I live in one of the 3 small villages in the planet where the Sega Master System ever gained some popularity. The choices for an 8-bit console for me were Sega's Little Disappointment or a NES. Well, a Famiclone, as they call it, since Nintendo didn't have any real representation here until the mid-90s. So yeah, a kid had to choose which console he would ask his parents for, and what guided his choice were the games present on each machine. Would we rather play as a fat plumber embroiled in political conflict with a giant dragon turtle, only to gain sexual favors from nobility in return? Or would we prefer to spend our time with an ugly kid with deformed ears and a serious gambling addiction? Was it cooler to play with a He-Man look-alike eager to defeat Dracula by whipping him like an S&M queen, or control a cute anime girl in a cosmic adventure too cool for school? Would we rather be a ninja or a ninja? Gaiden. In the end, what broke the tie for many kids were the Turtles games. With a NES, or well, a Famiclone, we were able to kick Shredder's ass and save April. By the way, you only realize how cute April was when you grow older. Remember when April was a beautiful redhead? Kids today have to accept a human burrito as the turtle's best friend, and I call that unfair. Gen Alpha deserves cute redheads too. So anyway, the Turtles were the reason I grew up a Nintendo guy. Mario can get Link can catch it too. The Ninja Turtles, man, that's where I was at. Now, something that always fascinated me is the fact that there were quite a few exclusive characters in these games, both heroes and villains, created specifically for the digital adventures of our Bill and Ted-esque reptiles. Originally, I was planning to make a video regarding forgotten characters from every Ninja Turtles media I could find, but the fact of the matter is, many of them are not forgotten anymore. Once obscure characters like Irma, Mona Lisa, and Tempestra appeared in modern shows or games. Meanwhile, the ones I'm about to discuss remained forever locked in their cartridges of origin. Besides, once I started looking at Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation, well, I realized that show was made of nothing but forgotten characters and deserved its own video. Yeah, I bet you can't wait to see me suffer going through that garbage. So let's start with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1990, and it quickly became one of the obligatory titles for the system, along with heavyweights like Mega Man and Castlevania. It was a port of the TMNT arcade game, which was massive popular back then. So much so that teachers at my school were sending alerts to parents because they thought kids were skipping class regularly to play the damned game. That was a preposterous assumption, of course. Kids weren't skipping class to play video games, they were skipping class to impregnate their female colleagues. Yeah, at least 3 girls from my school showed up pregnant back then, but the teachers were worried about video games corrupting the youth. Ah, those were the days. But back to TMNT 2, the arcade game. In this one, Shredder kidnaps April O'Neil and Master Splinter, and it's up to the Turtles to save their friends through 9 stages of non-stop action. Radical! One thing about this game is that it has more content than the arcade it was based on. Since the NES could not duplicate the original arcade board 1-to-1, Konami decided to throw a bone to console players, adding 2 extra stages, Central Perk and the House of Shogun, and 3 new bosses, Baxter Stockman in fly form, Tora and Shogun. The ones we care for here are Tora and Shogun, who are exclusive to this game. Both are space bounty hunters, hired by Shredder to destroy the Turtles. Tora is a polar bear who dresses like Andrew Dice Clay and has frozen New York with his magical testicle of doom. And Shogun is what Americans perceived to be a Japanese person back in those days. Aggressive, clad in armor, with a detachable head and swooshing a naginata at people. Both characters were featured in the TV ad for the game, but Shogun is the most memorable of them. Not only because he is the final obstacle in the player's way into the Technodrome, Shredder's lair, but because the battle against him was one of the most challenging in the entire game. When you defeated him, you were rewarded with quite the spectacle. Dude yells in pain and defeat, explodes, and his charred legs, the last remaining part of the once proud bounty hunter, collapses on the ground in a dramatic display of destrucity. Let me tell you, back then that felt as cathartic as beating an Elden Lord. Sure, Shogun was a robot, and all types of violence were allowed against our mechanized friends back then, but still, it was obvious that the people at Konami put a lot of effort into making the player feel special after beating this guy. Remember when Konami actually cared? Unlike today, where they just make erotic-themed Castlevania pachinko machines to destroy Japanese salarymen's savings. Tora and Shogun never left their game of origin. They were never featured in the cartoon or any of the comic books and never showed their faces in any other game since then. There were no official toys of them either, only fan-made ones. Outside of TMNT 2, the arcade game, it's like they never existed. But why is that? Sure, Tora is not that interesting, mutants are a dime a dozen in the TMNT lore, but Shogun was a pretty cool villain. Why not bring him back in some way? If I had to guess, I believe the problem is who owns these characters. Both Tora and Shogun were created to star in a video game made by Konami with licensed characters from Mirage Studios. So who owns their copyright? Konami or Mirage Studios, or nowadays Paramount? I believe it's the same legal embroilment that surrounds Lin Kurosawa from the Aliens vs Predator arcade game, another cool character that never resurfaced in any game except for a cameo in Street Fighter Alpha 2. Her colleagues in-game are 2 Predators and Dot Schaefer, Arnold's character in the first movie. Those 3 all belong to Fox, well, they now belong to Disney, while Lin was created exclusively for the arcade, so the ownership rights over her are in complete limbo, and so the character stays in limbo. Which is a shame, because I would love to see Lin Kurosawa again, The world needs more Japanese muscle mummies in their video games. And it's sad that the same fate befalls Shogun. Not that he is a Japanese muscle mummy, I mean, he could be under all that armor, and that is kinda hot. Moving on, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time for the arcades. The arcade version was somewhat different from the one we got on the Super Nintendo, which I consider the superior one. Just like TMNT 2 on the NES, Turtles in Time for the SNES had more content than the arcade version. The sewer surfing stage now had a boss in the figure of Rat King, the Neon Knight Rider stage became a super sweet Model 7 showcase, we had Bebop and Rocksteady not present in the arcade as bosses here, as well as the evil mutant turtle Slash. Not only that, but we fought Shredder twice here. The first time, he was a POV boss, and we had to throw foot soldiers at the screen to damage his machine. A brilliant use of the SNES Mode 7 capabilities. The second time, he was the final boss, and we had to face him in his Kevin Nash Shredder form. One thing of note is that Slash replaced the original boss of the prehistoric Turtlesaurus stage. In the arcade, it was none other than Cement Man. Yeah, Cement Man. A boss that is just a mess of questionable white goo. I debated if I should add him to this video because there is a monster similar to it on the TV show, but in there it's called Blob Monster. I researched Cement Man expecting it to be some obscure toy that no kid cared for but found nothing. If I had to come up with an explanation, I would conjecture that Konami just got a ton of model sheets from Mirage Studios when producing this game, with only the most basic explanations on who was who, and then were given free rein to pick and choose which characters to use. Someone saw the Blob Monster and thought it might make a fine enemy for players. I don't know if Cement Man can be truly considered an exclusive character considering what we know now, so I'll leave it up to you guys. Leave a comment telling me what you think. Also drop me the phone number of your older sister, I'm sure she'll appreciate that. Okay, leaving the beat-em-ups behind, time to talk about the Tournament Fighters Trifecta, released by Konami to try and cash in on the fighting game's frenzy caused by Street Fighter II, back in, as I like to call it, the day. We had 3 versions of Tournament Fighters, one for the NES, another on the Sega Mega Drive, and one for the Super NES. They are all one-on-one fighters, but completely different from each other, so let's talk about them one at a time. Starting with the NES version, which is much better than it has any right to be. I mean, this is the NES for crying out loud, and this is possibly one of the most competent fighters on the system. Not that I can remember many others. Whenever I try, all I can think of are bootlegs of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat made in countries that probably no longer exist or have become dictatorships by now. Anyway, I thought this one had an original exclusive character in the figure of Hothead, the dragon dude who is so big he makes every sprite on the screen flicker when he's around. But no, this guy came straight from the Archie comics. In there, he's a fireman called Shu Si, who, while attempting to save a child from a burning building, was possessed by the dragon spirit and became known as the Warrior Dragon. So, not really an original character made exclusively for the game and lost to the whims of time, but a minor one that a lot of people might not have heard of and just like me, could have mistaken for a new creation. And since I'm talking about the Turtles and their games, I decided to clarify Hothead's situation. Besides, he dated April in the comics. That kinky reporter. Now, let's talk about the Mega Drive Tournament Fighters. This has to be one of the worst games ever made. I mean, just look at it. The graphics are ugly, the music sounds like a fat woman collapsing over a Casio keyboard, everyone burps their lines. Cowabunga! The controls are terrible, and the computer just plain cheats when you fight it. I mean, watch this! But is there an exclusive character here? Oh yes, there is! Sisyphus! Sisyphus. So, the story here is that the Foot Clan, now led by Karai, Shredder's hot adoptive daughter, used turtle clones to kidnap Splinter. Now the real turtles have to rescue him. But they won't go alone. They'll have help from friends. April O'Neil, who is a pro wrestler here for some reason, Casey Jones, Ray Fillet, coming straight from the Archie comics, and Sisyphus. Sisyphus. Nothing is explained about Sisyphus. He is given no lore or backstory. All that is said about him is that he's a friend to the Turtles. Dude just showed up, met the Turtles, and decided to help them on an intergalactic adventure to rescue their dead. What a bro, man. But that's it. There is nothing else I can say about this character. I mean, I like his design. A rhinoceros beetle wearing what seems to be a samurai armor, but there is nothing else to talk about. Except for one thing. His name. Sisyphus. Sisyphus was the guy from Greek mythology who carried a large boulder to the top of a mountain every day, only to do it again and again and again for eternity. Now, maybe, and this is a big maybe, Sisyphus was named after that guy because he's a beetle and there is a species of beetle that is constantly rolling balls of dung everywhere, forever. A character named after an insect whose entire existence consists of rolling poop? Adequate considering the game we are talking about. That leaves us with the Super Nintendo version, the best of the trio. No joke, it seems Konami developers poured all their souls into this game, treating the other two, the Mega Drive one especially, like the red-headed bastards of the family. SNES Tournament Fighters looks great, sounds great, plays amazingly, and is really fun, especially if you play the Japanese version, which has a more balanced AI for when you play against the CPU. So, who is the original exclusive character here? Another stupid mutant that dwells in excrement? No, it's Asuka. So this one has a very interesting story. I don't care that Justin Wang already told her story. I'm gonna do it regardless. So this one, a hot kunoichi with a legendary derriere who has a shoryuken and a pile driver and could crush watermelons with her thighs, was originally an already existing character. See, TMNT Tournament Fighters for the SNES is a grand celebration of the franchise. We have characters from both the cartoons and comics here thrown together into a huge smorgasbord of violence. Thing is, Asuka didn't come from either the comics or the TV show. She came from the live-action movies. Tell me, do you remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3? In it, the Turtles travel back in time to feudal Japan and help a small resistance fight a cruel feudal lord. The movie is hated by most fans because, well, it is stupid. But come on, we are talking about humanoid turtles that were trained by a rat into becoming ninja masters and who fight an alien that looks like a piece of chewed bubblegum on a daily basis. This movie is where we draw the line on stupidity. Sure, there was the scene where Leonardo gave mouth to a little kid, but yeah, I can see why people hate this movie now. So, the Turtles help the rebels, who are led by a cute girl named Mitsu, played here by Vivian Wu, who you might know from movies such as The Last Emperor, The Joy Luck Club, and The Pillow Book, where she spends 90% of her time naked. Naked. Ewan McGregor is also in that movie. Yeah, Obi-Wan, showing his Kenobi to anyone who cares to see it. At this point, you already connected the dots, but I'll say it anyway. Asuka was originally planned to be Mitsu, as a way to represent the movie universe of the Turtles. The proof is that there was a prototype version of the game going around where Asuka was actually named Mitsu. So why the change? If I had to guess, it was because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 flopped badly at the box office, and both Konami and Mirage Studios decided it was for the best to have no connection with it. Now, since she was based on an existing character, I don't really know if Konami owns a copyright of her. I mean, Asuka is technically Mitsu, and Mitsu was not created by Konami. On the other hand, Asuka could be seen as an original creation, since she has absolutely nothing to do with the character on the movie. So who owns her? Konami or the Turtles' current owners? I don't know. I believe that, at least for now, Asuka is lost in legal limbo, and we will never see her or her attributes ever again. And this is it. These are all the characters created exclusively for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video games. Ones that exist as a time capsule of the 90s, a period when video games and the four New York reptilians existed in perfect synergy, helping one another carve their permanent place in pop culture. Except that there is one last character I want to talk about: the skating girl. On stage 2 of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, both in the arcade as well as the NES port, a female skater suddenly slides past you, not really caring about seeing a 5-foot-tall humanoid turtle going on a rampage against multicolored ninja robots. Of course, you can attack her, making her curl into a ball and scream in terror. Does that excite you, you freak? Does it? Does it make you feel like a big man, huh? Curiously, the skater girl is the only character from this video that ever made a second appearance. There she is, on Contra Rebirth for the Wii. Guess she is the only one to whom Konami has full custody. So, this is it for today. What about you guys? Did you enjoy the Turtles video games? Were you even born during their zenith? Which version of April is your favorite? Classic one? Modern one? Live action? Burrito? I wanna know! Really! So now I must go, for my planet needs me. Now, in all seriousness, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. I hope I made you chuckle, or at least I hope to have made your day a little less boring. And if you're willing, leave a comment. I love reading your comments. I really do. So engage. Make it so. And all those things that Captain Picard used to say. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves and everyone you love. Cheers!